Alright, how's it going? This is going to be a hardcore role-playing let's play introduction video that I'm going to do right now. This is just going to be as quick as I can make it to explain the basics of what I want to do here. First thing I want to do is give you the backstory, and the story is going to follow a guy named George McIntosh. He's a single guy. He works part-time as a lumberjack, but he wasn't making ends meet with that job, so he started looking around. He ended up getting a job as a hired hand on a farm working for a guy named Mr. McFly. And he worked with him for quite a while. And then, unfortunately, about a week ago, Mr. McFly passed away. And when he did, he left everything to George McIntosh. Everything he owned, the farm, all the land, the cows, all that land, just everything that he had, he left to him. Unfortunately, the farm was in debt over $200,000 and owes the bank $200 grand. So the bank reached out to George and offered him a deal. Said, okay, if you sell out right now, we'll give you 50 grand. And that'll pay off everything, and you ain't got nothing to worry about. Just sign it over to us. But Mr. McFly really did a great thing by going out on a limb and helping George out. With hiring him basically when he himself really didn't have much to offer. So George didn't feel right at all doing that, so instead he's going to keep the land, and his goal is to keep it and turn it around and bring it back to what it used to be years and years ago. It used to be the greatest piece of land, and one of the biggest farm owners in the entire area. So he wants to do that. He wants to turn it back around and make it that. I need to point out that this is my first time ever doing a hardcore role-playing Let's Play video ever, so there's going to be some bumps, some hiccups along the way, but I'll do my best to keep in character and not jump out too often. When I have to, I will, just to explain certain things, so because it's going to be made up as I go. It's going to be a lot of stuff on the fly and things like that. All right, to explain the cameras and how that's going to work and all that, this guy George McIntosh loves filming and recording everything he does. It's one of his biggest hobbies. So he'll be having cameras in all his vehicles, all over the place, all over all his farms, on himself at all times. It's just a constant running thing. He'll constantly be talking, giving different angles, things like that, just to, so he can watch it back, or so he can show it to somebody else. And so he'll constantly be having conversations about what he's doing, about what he's thinking about doing, what he might do, things like that, which will also help definitely keep the video interesting. At times, I'll be having conversations with NPCs, which you won't see because they don't have them, but like if I go to the store, like if I'm going to purchase something, he'll go talk to the, guy at the store, and I'll do my best to play both sides of the conversation, so you have an idea, so you understand what's going on both sides. Again, this is going to be a learning curve, so if I have to change it up, I will, things like that. He knows a guy that he worked with at the lumberyard part-time also, who isn't making ends meet, so he offered him, as soon as he found out about it, he offered him to come work with him. With the stipulation that when he is working, he has to cover the fuel cost of any vehicle he runs and uses. So with the pay offered to him, to his friend MK, he agreed. He's like, all right, sure, I can cover that, no problem. Small stuff I want to touch on is I want to explain the seeders, the way that works, because you fill up the seeder machine and you can jump through any seed type at any time. But instead of doing that, I'm going to have to go back to, like, if I want to change what kind of seed I'm using on the field, I'm going to have to go back to the seed bags, and he'll have to, empty it and fill up a new seed. You're not really going to do it, but that's going to be how, in order to switch between the different seeds, that's what I have to do. Let's see here. I just kind of made a quick list of things I really, really wanted to touch on before starting this video. Own property for cutting down trees and cutting grass. I cannot do it on property that I do not own. So on the map here, you'll see 16 and that farm area all around 16, the barn and all that stuff, he owns. So I can cut the grass, I can take the trees, whatever I want. Same with the area by the cows. And any other property that I buy, the same rule applies. If it's an area that's near something but not necessarily owned, then if he wants to say, take the trees out of the area or something like that, then I'll probably have a like a meeting with the town board or something like that, or a guy who may own the property or just something like that, just so he can kind of get an agreement to cut the trees and, take some stuff off the land. And if that does happen or does occur, then half of that, whatever he brings in, maybe, or 50%, depends what the negotiation comes out to be, which is all going to be done by me. You know, and then we'll figure it out. We'll play it out as we go, stuff like that. If at any point I hit into any vehicles, there's going to be cost for damage. If I smash my own vehicles, things like that, there's going to be cost. I'm going to probably like buy the weights off screen or something like that just to compensate for the cost. And it'll all depend on how bad the accident is and what it's with and things like that, as opposed to to determine the cost. There will be no vehicles breaking down at any point, just because there is a constant vehicle maintenance cost. So he is constantly maintaining all his vehicles to the best of their ability to be maintained. Whatever. There's some fumblage. There's a fuel pump on the farm. I don't think I covered that yet, but there's a fuel pump on the farm, which I will not be using just because I think it's kind of too easy. I think it would be more interesting if I had to drive the vehicles or take them out of town or buy a portable fuel pump for the field, which I could be able to transport around. If I do want to get the one on the farm working, then it's going to cost thousands of dollars. I'll have to figure out exactly how much, because he'll have to run new lines to it. The whole thing is outdated, old, and just no good anymore, basically. I think the only other thing that I really want to get to is teleporting around, jumping from vehicle to vehicle. It's one of the things you can do. I will not be doing that if I can avoid it at all costs. It may happen occasionally on accident, which I'll jump right back probably and try to fix that, just because I think that's definitely going to take away from the authenticity of it and the realistic feeling of the video. And I mean, again, I'm not a farmer in real life, so this is not going to be like the most realistic thing in the world, but I'm going to do my best to make it as close as I can. And small stuff like driving over the crops and the fields as they're in their growth stages and things like that, I'm gonna avoid doing that to the best of my ability. And yeah, I mean, like I said, this is just gonna be, hopefully this will just be a ton of fun and a really enjoyable time, and hopefully everybody watching enjoys these videos a lot. And there's one other thing I do need to cover really quick. Because he owes the bank that money, every Friday he has to pay back $5,000 of the loan, or the bank's going to seize a piece of equipment. When they seize it, they'll either give him a few more days to come up with the $5,000, and then they'll give him the piece of equipment back, or they're going to sell it and put that towards whatever he owes. There's not going to be too much that he can really do. He can try to get into negotiations with them to see if they'll give him an extra day, an extra 2 days, things like that. But he's owed this money. This money has been owed for a really long time, so they're really coming down on them hard. Coming down on the farm, McFly farm hard. To get paid back, basically. So that's going to be one of the only like major time crunch challenges that I am going to be under, because if Friday comes around and I don't have the $5,000 to pay them, it's going to be a problem. Hopefully it all works out. Like I said, I will work on this as we go along, and if things aren't really working out, or if anybody watching has any ideas or something like that, feel free to share. I guess that's it. I think I'm going to stop that here, and if there's anything else I need to add, I will throw them in as soon as I can. But again, I'm going to be playing in character and try not to get out of character too often, if at all, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, thanks for watching.